For investors, by investors. You're listening to the only show on the planet for real estate investors, wholesalers, rehabbers, landlords, private lenders, cash buyers, fix and flippers. This is Real EstatePreneurs. What's up? I've got Nate Doggy Dog. I'm Dr. J, and here we are for another Real EstatePreneurs. What is up, Nate?
What's going on, man? Good bring into the episode there.
I'm working on it. I hired a coach.
So how's it been since last week?
Awesome. Well, we skipped 2 weeks. You know what I'm most excited about? Forget about how it's been. I'm excited that today, on today's show, we have somebody who I haven't known very long, but has been extremely influential in my life. I mean, yesterday I was having a breakdown. I'm like, I need to go start buying and fixing and flipping and doing other stupid shit like that. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. And this guy comes on the phone. He's like, hey, quit being a dumbass. Just do more podcast factory work. And I'm like, oh man, why'd you say that to me? That simple little fix. And that's why I'm talking about coaching. And that's why I'm talking about our guest, Mark Evans, deal maker, dream maker. Like this guy, the way he thinks is so simple. It's like a caveman. He's just like spitting out like 3 words and all of a sudden they change your life. And I'm excited to bring him onto the show. What's up, Mark?
Nah, man. Thank you guys for having me. What's going on, fellas?
How much, man? Excited to have you here too, as I've known you a little bit longer, I guess. The Dream Maker. We could change it from the Deal Maker to the Dream Maker.
Oh, he's a Dream Maker, bro. It says it in his song. That's how I know.
Exactly. I mean, Nate knows me better as Dungeon Master, but that's a whole different story.
Oh, man. So, Mark, what do you have? Like 37 businesses, 100 JVs, you make $100,000 a second. Like, give us your superpower list, because I want the people listening, the real estatePreneurs listening and leaning in to learn from you.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I love real estate. That's been my identity for 23 years and over. I'm involved in a bunch of other businesses now, about 16 to be exact. You know, most of them are not in real estate. For the simple fact is, the problem with real estate, it's amazing, by the way. The real problem is scalability, right? How do you scale to the next level? There are some real constraints in that. Hopefully we talk about that a little bit today. But at the end of the day, you know, I think my real unique superpower is just connecting and keeping things simple. Sometimes I oversimplify it though, but getting with great people and trying to keep moving forward, right?
I like his modesty. It's cute. Yesterday, he told me how to get 100 clients in like 3 moves.
Well, listen, you got to do the work. It's easy for me to say it, but doing the work and saying it are 2 different things, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about, I don't know what agenda Nate has, but I want to start here. And this is something that I've noticed is something that you're gifted at. And to tell a backstory, a couple years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I had a client and I thought this client was like amazing. The things he was doing and the people he was connected to. And I'm like, this guy's on it, man. He is awesome. And I ran into him at your party at the DM event the other day, Mr. Krautkramer. He's like, oh, the best coach I've ever had in my life is this guy right here, Mark Evans. And so it seems like you are a man of relationships and connections. And how has that played into your growth?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think at the end of the day, like, you know, a lot of people are looking for transaction opportunities. I'm looking for relationship opportunities, working with people, you know, doing good work and being consistent with that. You know, sometimes, you know, long-term relationships aren't the easiest either, right? Because they're relationships. They got to work at them. You got to do your part. They got to do their part. Sometimes you get excited. Sometimes you get sad. But at the end of the day, you keep showing up and you keep plugging away. And then working with people that are growing in different genres or, you know, different unique abilities and figuring out how to put all these pieces together so we can all grow together. So like the real question is, how do we make the pie bigger and get a bigger piece of the pie together as a group?
I like that.
Yeah. And one thing you always say, Mark, is 10% of a million is better than 100% of nothing, right?
Exactly.
So
it's true. We're going for $1 billion though, but yeah.
True. 10%.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that, you know, it's important in the relationship side. And that's one thing I've picked up from you over the years is the importance of the relationships, right? And it's a shift to go from transactional to relational, right? Because we're in business, everything is so transactional. And then when you start realizing like, hey man, we're working with people and we can grow this bigger instead of just being, you've always played the long game. Yeah. And I was watching this show, The Boardroom, the other day. It's on ESPN, they have it. I think it's Kevin Durant. They had LeBron James on there and these guys and their business managers. And they were talking about stuff. And I think you've got a thing that you've done that made me think of you was, he goes, you know what? There's always opportunity. The question is sometimes it's just the opportunities, it's too far ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Right. It made me think of you because we were talking about these different pieces over the years. Back in the day, it was you had an info product rolling out before like anyone even really was teaching that kind of stuff. Right. There weren't a whole lot of like products. And as I learned about info products from you, and then all of a sudden it's this, oh, go grow this list, go build this, do this internet piece. Like, it's always like you seem to be one step ahead of the industry that we kind of came up in. And, anyways, I just want to point that out, right? So the fact that if people heard that, I want you guys to take home very serious, like relationship, because everyone else out there right now is transactional.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, we've known each other 13 years, November 2006, right, Nate?
I think we met, was it November or September?
Oh, it might've been September. Yeah, you're right.
And then your book launched shortly after that in November.
Susan's birthday, the 21st.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got engaged too.
I know.
And today's his anniversary and he's here with us.
Oh, wow. A lot going on. A lot of connections. But no, I think the thing is like a lot of times people are like, pay attention to people that are growing. Typically, they have a lot of long-term relationships following with them and working with them. Most of the guys that are just making money, whatever that means, they're typically, boom, they always have a new friend. They always have a new biggest, best thing. And yet there's nothing to it. There's no meat to it. So, I mean, guys, at the end of the day, too, isn't relationships what we're really all about anyways? I mean, where's the humanization in this game? And I think it's becoming even worse, right, with the cell phone and very transactional. And like, I love the relationship side, actually.
So I want to talk about that piece a little bit because I was listening to Earl Nightingale this morning, and he was talking about relationships, and he was also talking about how sometimes we outgrow the old relationships. And you're talking about playing the long game. So how do you find those people that you don't outgrow?
Well, I think it's all communication, right? Because we could be talking about our kids, our spouses, our family, and our buddies. We all have life going on anyways, right? At different levels and different seasons of life and business, right? I might be thriving. You might be barely surviving at a moment. And that doesn't mean necessarily financially. It might just mean mentally, emotionally, physically, something's going on. So the key is being conscious and communicating. Like, Nate and I kind of like back in the day, like, Nate, we should go to this event, the Dan Kennedy event together. Like, I think just sharing knowledge to your buddies that are environments that you're hanging out in. Nate's doing more workout stuff. Yo, Mark, you should check this workout thing. So I think it's just communicating back and forth. And we don't have to be, we don't have to do everything that each person says, but like, we know we're all growing. I think as our circle, my biggest fear with my wife is outgrowing her. Truthfully, I talk about it all the time because I'm always advancing and growing and developing. And she's kind of hanging out, taking care of the kids and doing her thing. No right or wrong here. I'm not judging it, but like, if we're not talking every Sunday about her goals, dreams, and, purpose, and vice versa, mine, her goal might be, hey, I want this new purse. And mine, I'm like, I want to build $1 billion company, So if we're not talking about that, there might be a little weird conflict in the future, in the making.
I think that's one of my favorite things about both you guys is that you throw the line out there like, hey, I'm doing this. You can come do it or not. Like, you could be left behind. I don't care, but I'm giving you a chance to lift up. And that's one of the reasons why when Nate threw me a line to you, I was like, this guy just opened a door for me that would have never been opened if I wasn't friends with him, if I didn't have a relationship with him, if I didn't go snowboarding with him and take him down his first black diamond. None of this might have happened,
Yeah, exactly, man. I love it, man. And not only that, I think another thing I think people forget, and Nate and I are involved in this right now because we're working on a company together, is like as we evolve, our visions, our growth, our mind is growing too, right? And is evolving. So we might have met through a real estate or a product, but now we're actually growing businesses that could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars or more. So it's like, I think if you're looking at the long-term play today, yeah, we might be making $1 million a year together, but like in 10 years from now or 20 years from now, it could be a whole different world.
Yeah, and now you're talking about deals because that's where we're at, right? Certain size deals. And then 20 years go by, you've done those deals. So it just expands and grows. Come back on the relationship side too, to take just a quick step back. JR, you and I met obviously at a mastermind meeting, and we just kind of, I used to go back in the day, I'd go to different mastermind meetings and, it used to be, what can I learn? What tactic can I get? And then it quickly shifted, like, what relationship can I gain? Mm-hmm. And then just to connect the dots for our listeners, like JR and I met at a mastermind. Him and I became good friends, he started working on a podcast together, doing some stuff. And working on book funnels, all these cool things that we had in common, that we enjoyed. And then all of a sudden it was like, he's like, hey, I think I'm going to get back into real estate. And I'm like, all right, cool. You need to talk to Mark. And that relationship led over. So it's, they just parlay and grow and grow and grow over time, right? What's the saying, right? If you're the, you are the average of the top 5 people you hang out with. So you always want to make sure that those top 5 people are growing too, right?
Yeah, that's why I need to start hanging out with 6'5" people instead of you. No, I think two guys.
You're not getting any height from me.
Exactly. It's the only thing I can be average at. At the end of the day, two guys, right? What's interesting is relationships are a funny thing because the development, like we're all growing. I know I keep going back to that, but I believe everybody is one relationship away from a different world, right? So Nate, you meet him at like you're investing in yourself. You're changing the concept of I'm going to a mastermind for me. It's all about taking, but you're showing up to give. And that's a relationship generator. When you do that, it literally could be one relationship from a whole nother world. Just like in real estate, if you're buying a complex, you're only one deal away from a different life. And it starts with a relationship, man.
So let's go back to that thing that we talked about in the beginning. We got off on the relationship thing, which everybody's talking about now. I think people are becoming more aware of this. But you said that you diversified into multiple different streams of income because real estate wasn't scalable. So what was it that limited you in real estate? And then how did you make that choice that you needed to get outside of it and not thinking that you were being distracted, but yeah, you're actually doing this intentionally?
Well, I mean, first off, you got to start off with your unique ability, right? Like unique ability, again, I'm not saying I'm 100% focused, that's for sure. And I'm not acting like everything's 100% on top of the game. But for me, I think it's like real estate has scalability issues, meaning product. I'm in Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio. There's only so many houses we can buy and sell in those specific markets for the price we need to be at. So there's limitations to that. We do about 30 to 50 deals a month consistently. I've been doing so for a long time. The problem is once you go over 50, let's say, our marketing costs go up, our staff costs go up, but our profits start shrinking. There's a sweet spot in all businesses where it might be 20 to 30. Truth is, us as a company, if we did 20 to 30 deals a month, we'd probably be more profitable as a company, but the sales guys and the team would look different. So there are some, challenges with that and scalability that takes a lot of cash, a lot of money management. And then in the media company 4 years ago, we started that. That's an online emailing, we're emailing, growing, developing these assets online. It becomes global, virtual, like everyone's everyone's in Florida, but we don't have a global office. But literally it's like, or the supplement things that Nate and I we're working on, like you can sell 1 pack of protein or you can sell 1,000 packs of protein every day. There's scalability to it. The question is, how do you reverse engineer the numbers? For every buyer we get, it's $50, but we make $59, and then by doing that, now you just start scaling with speed. And how do you do that? As my buddy Judge always says, like scale with speed, quickly, break things, figure it out, grow. In real estate, there's real limitations. I'd have to grow into a new market. I have to go to Akron, Canton, Dayton, or whatever. And by doing that, you have to understand in real estate, every street is different. You have to know the players. You have to know the product. You have to know the laborers. There's labor. You got to do the work on the houses. So there's a lot of constraints with that space. But if I can just digress just a tad more, real estate's an amazing equalizer of dummies. I'm a dummy. You can make a lot of money in real estate, but if you're trying to make $10 million a year in the real estate space, single family, basic house, it's not going to happen. So you're going to get frustrated. And that's kind of where I started. I was like, I want to make more, but the product category I was in didn't allow that to happen. So you feel like you're doing something wrong. The only thing you're doing wrong, you're just in the wrong marketplace. You're the wrong product place. But you can make a lot of money cash flow wise. So you can make $1 million cash flow in the real estate game, but use that as a cash flow. Take that cash and go put it into a product that allows you to scale and, more importantly, be able to sell. See, in real estate, my real estate business is I could sell it maybe for a 1X at best, right? In the product space, Nate and I, in the supplement, it might be a 5X, 10X, whatever the number is at that time, depending if we have recurring revenue, if we don't. Like, there's a lot of variables that in real estate, a house is worth $100,000. That's the maximum amount you can get for it. In business, if you invest $100,000, you might be able to sell that for $10 million or 100. I mean, it's just different. There's no right or wrong. I'm just saying I woke up one day and discovered real estate's awesome, but it's just take that cash and put somewhere else so I can make real money.
How'd you figure that out? What was it that clicked in your mind? Was it the people you're around, something you read? What was it that said, oh, shoot, there's a better way?
Frustration, right? I was frustrated. I wanted to make 10 million. You can only make so many millions. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? We're beating our head against the wall, beating our head. And then it just realized, like, people, as I'm developing in some of my relationships, my buddies in my mastermind groups I'm in, they're like, oh, I've been in business 6 years and I sold my company for 160 million. I'm like, I can't do that. It's impossible. I've been doing it for 23 years. I couldn't do it. So it's like in real estate, but in supplement space or media space or whatever, these scalable environments, these product categories that allow that, it's definitely doable.
Yeah. And I think along the lines too with that is one thing that just popped out to me is you also didn't quit your day job.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you moved into these other pieces, but you still do real estate. You're still cranking out real estate and that business is there, which lends back to one thing you mentioned you wanted to talk about is being able to put the people in place and how do you scale a team and people and processes and systems, right? So being able to be a part of 16 different companies, as you mentioned, how do you do that? What's your secret sauce there for managing that and pushing those forward?
Yeah, I'm messing it up a lot. That's a real secret sauce. There's different pieces like the media side. I don't know much about it. I know the dynamics. I know how it works, but I don't necessarily know how to do the work. So with that particular thing, Dan Sullivan talks about hire the who to do the how. So I was able to understand, like I had Patrick, that's my who, and then he knew how to do the how. And then by doing the how, I supported him in hiring the people, Kathy, Colleen, and everyone else that works in that organization. On the other ones, it's, some of the business I'm in, like my private lending business, that's only 2 people, a deal coordinator and an assistant to get the paperwork, make sure, and an accounting person to make sure that, boom, like for example, if I do a $100K loan, I get 12% on my money. A mortgage has to be created, a note has to be created, all that stuff. So it's very streamlined, very simple. So hiring the people that love paperwork, which no entrepreneur loves paperwork. Again, it's back to the unique ability and finding the people put in place. Another problem, the reason most people can't hire anybody is because they're not in an environment that allows them to invest money in good people. So I want to hire the best people. With where I'm at today. So, people are investments. I think a lot of times most people are looking at people as cost. We're looking at them as investments.
Yeah. And I think that's huge, right? A lot of people look at it, if I hire someone, that's an expense, right? And then as opposed to an investment, like, all right, well, how much time is that buying back for you? So you have the ability to think of higher level things, be more strategic, be a better business owner, be a better, leader of your organization, right? And you're buying that time back. And a lot of times that's going to make you that person, that investment's going to make you 3X, 5X, 10X what you were by being the person in place doing it, right?
Yeah. What's interesting, right, Jonathan and Nate, is like we're in business to get money and get time. But yet what's funny is like I see a lot of guys 20 years deep in business and they don't have much money and they don't have much time. Why is that? Well, the truth is they're still solopreneurs. Most of these guys are solo still. They're not building a real business. They're building a high-paying job, acting like they're in business. The difference for me is I stopped going to real estate events and started going to business building events a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So you start learning leadership, like you were talking, Nate, leadership skills, how to hire people, how to fire people, how to pay people properly, how to create a structure, how to utilize your unique abilities. More importantly, find out what their unique abilities are. Because we as entrepreneurs, we think everyone's all about money. That's not the case. It's most people just want to work in a great environment with purpose and, be recognized and paid appropriate.
I think that one of the things I learned from you, or I've heard it from the DM family, and I know that you just had an experience with this, Nate, was that we're scared to hire people. And even me, I know I need to hire someone now, but you think I got to have this much of the salary or this much. And you guys enlightened me to the idea of, no, you're risking 3 months or you're risking 2 months worth to find out. And if you don't get a multiplier in that time, then you've already done a small test. And I like that concept. And in fact, you brought it to the call yesterday where somebody was trying to get into a new market. And you're like, just throw some money at marketing and see what happens. Stop talking about building the company and legal and this, that, the other. Just throw a few dollars, know what you're willing to risk, and find out if you get a result. And I think that's like us as marketers, isn't that just like a direct response marketing test? Let's just see if this offer works.
That's all it is, man. People are so worried about losing money, they're not making enough money. It's like, dude, if you just throw a couple dollars, test, boom, it popped, let's go. If it works, you go. If it doesn't, you lose $2,000 and you move on. At least You know, all of us as entrepreneurs, when you're caught in the middle, it's the hardest and scariest place to be. You just don't know which way to go. Do I stop? Do I grow? Do I stop? Playing that mental gymnastics game is not serving anybody at all.
Do you still hit that, the stop or go? You don't seem like it.
I don't hit it as, my biggest thing is more like I would be more caught up in the middle of, Nate and I, we're dealing with it right now with the supplement thing. Like it's a real like it's been dragging on, because we're waiting on other people and this and that and this and that. So it's not really, I think yesterday, Nate, you and I did that, right? We were texting and it's like, dude, let's just go with this company. What are we going to do? Save $2, like $3, like, let's just go with them. They're showing up. We're on, let's go. But you get caught up in I'm building a company. I need to save, I need to get the best deal with the best product. Dude, sometimes good enough is just good enough. Let's go.
Yeah, get it live and get it making money or not and move on. And the biggest thing that's driving me crazy about what we're doing now is I feel like I'm not doing enough, right?
Yeah, me too.
There has to be something I can do right now. And sometimes there's those moments in business where doing nothing is the right thing too, right? Or not moving on it or letting that pace slow, right? On some things. Whereas like this thing, it's just driving me crazy because I'm like, we could build this page, we could do this, but really it's just not it's not the right time right now to be doing it.
Yeah, it's timing.
Yeah, but I'm still going to be, I still get anxiety because
we're all anxious
from it. So,
what's funny about as an entrepreneur or real estate or whatever, just entrepreneur in general, I don't know any entrepreneur that's not anxious. Right? It kind of goes with the territory. The key is how do you keep it at bay and acknowledge it and know it exists and know what you should do with it, right? Because we can get anxious and jump in and do a million things, but is that the right thing to do? Maybe, maybe not. But, it comes with the territory because there's also people out there that are anxious but not doing anything, pretty much the general population. But they're more anxious about the new cell phones coming out. They're more anxious about, like, where am I going to go Friday night after I get off work and get wasted? Our anxiety comes because we know we're capable of so much more. I want to do more. I want to be more. And I know we can do more. So it's kind of a funny thing about anxiety is a real thing.
How have you learned to harness that? Like that's a thing that happens to all of us. And you figured out that sometimes there's a move to make, sometimes there's not. How did you figure that out?
Well, I don't think I figured it out. But one thing for sure it's helped me is stop drinking coffee. I stopped drinking coffee. It definitely heightens the anxiety level for sure on me. I'm an anxious person in general. Like I don't want to go to bed and I can't wait to wake up. Especially guys, the older we get, right, the more we realize that life is shorter and shorter and shorter. We only have so many more Christmases left and so many more birthdays left. So I really want to how do we maximize every single moment? But I don't think I've harnessed it yet. I'm anxious just sitting here, by the way.
Get me off this damn show.
No, it's like, dude, how do we help these people? How do we help the listener? How do we, where can we really say that's going to make an impact? What's the drive? I'm thinking about that stuff, all the time. Because I don't want to and I know Jonathan and Nate, you guys' show's different. Like you guys just don't want to talk to talk. You actually want to bring value to help them and guide them down the path to help them get results. That's really what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not here to talk about how to wholesale deals, right? We're here to help these guys level up into go from solopreneur to business owner and then build other brands, build other companies, right? And do it by gaining time back, not being that person that's sitting there that's grinding it out every day and wakes up 10 years from now going, holy hell, what just happened to my life? I haven't seen my kids grow up. I haven't done this, right? Like, we don't want that. So we have these guys that, and that's the knowledge we've been bringing, which has been awesome, right? We obviously got to do tactical. We get into some of that for our listeners.
You around a little bit when you get down into friendships.
I think it's all angry at me as I talk tactical. This pixel, that pixel, this video, that video of you.
Exactly.
How did you make the transition, Mark? How did you realize, because I think that there's a good point that we kind of brushed over earlier, and I think this would be huge for the real estate.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed part 1 of this episode. It's just too good to limit to one show. Join us next week to hear the rest. This is the podcastfactory.com.